Hey guys, I'm Greg Atkinson. I'm the founder of the First Impressions Conference and a consulting company called Worship Impressions, where we work with churches around the nation. We do coaching and consulting, and the thing I'm kind of known for is secret shoppers, where I come in and evaluate your weekend worship experience. And so I'm here today with my friend Jason Burns, pastor of Access Church. I got to do a secret shopper for those guys a couple years ago, and we just formed a great relationship. I love what they're doing there at their church. And then Jason also founded and started the company Radiant Printing, which we have used at my home church for all kinds of resources, banners and signs and flags. And so many of you have heard of Radiant Printing, but maybe didn't know it was started by a pastor who's there in the trenches week to week. And so Jason and I were talking about this concept that gets tossed around with entrepreneurs of don't just work for your business, work on your business. And he said, hey, this is a great time for church leaders, for pastors to work on their church. And I said, would you come talk with our group about it? And can I record a webinar with you talking about ideas of how to work on your church? So that's what we're going to talk about here today. Jason, my friend, welcome.
What is up, my man? Honored to be with you. And I do want to say one thing to all of your listeners. If you have not had Greg at your church, you need to have him at your church for two reasons. He's going to help you, and he is going to find the best Mexican food in your area, and you are going to eat a lot of chips and salsa with my man.
That's right. That's right. Yes. Yeah, there's a funny story of the Mexican restaurant in your city because I went there Saturday night and Sunday, same one.
Oh, good.
Yeah, but Jason, you had this idea about working on your church during this pause. We're in this coronavirus COVID-19 pause, and you had this idea about working on the ministry, working on the church, and it was sparked by an idea from late night television. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, I love comedy. I love good shows. And I heard a story recently about David Letterman. He was one of the kings of late night for years. But the story I heard was when he took over the late night show at the 11:30 time slot, he came in and was just a disruptor. He changed the whole game. His ratings were through the roof. And someone asked him, how is it that you had such high ratings? How did you have so many fresh ideas? And he said, when you get in the grind of every single night having to produce a brand new show, you start just getting so busy working in it that you never take the time to work on it. He said, I had a little break between my last show and starting this new 11:30 time show slot. And I decided to work on some fresh ideas. And so it's been unique and fresh. And it just gave us the simple idea as pastors and leaders that there are going to be some moments in our life where if we're not careful, we'll get stuck in the grind of every single week, there's a Sunday coming. Every 7 days, there's a Sunday coming. And it's really easy to fall into the routine and the rut of just having to work hard in your church and never getting the chance to step out of the busyness of all of your life and to work on your church. And so that's kind of the whole heart of this is this season, this great pause of 2020, in my opinion, gives churches an opportunity to literally work on their craft and to get better so that when we get back to whatever the new normal looks like, we have an opportunity to reintroduce ourselves, rebrand, reimagine, re-engineer who we are.
Yeah, that's good. And we can rethink. And the other cool thing about a pause, just like a vacation or a sabbatical, is you can dream again. You can dream and think through what would it be like if we did blank. And one of the things I say in my consulting is, what if we do blank, and what if we don't do blank? And so as we think of reopening our churches and coming back, gathering together, coming from the scattered church back to the gathered church, what if we do blank, and what if we don't do blank? And there's a lot of resources in this Weekend Worship and Guest Services Facebook group on protocols and procedures and reopening and things to think through of what to offer, what not to offer, how to roll things out. But Jason, as we were discussing about what we wanted to talk about today, he came up with just three areas of focus, and I wanted him to just kind of lead us through things to be thinking through as we and Jason, being a lead pastor, is sitting back working on his church, working on the ministry during this great pause. So Jason, start us out. Take us through these areas we ought to be paying attention to.
That's really great. So we even made a web page on our website, radiantprinting.com/workthewait, where we kind of show these three areas because, again, So often we just get in the grind, we get in the busyness of every single week that we never work on it. So the three areas that I thought every single church in America could take a fresh look through fresh eyes at. The first one is your digital footprint. Think through your branding, the way that you kind of appear to your community. Secondly is your website. And we can talk about these more in just a moment. The second area is the area of your first impressions. So someday, whether that's a couple of weeks or several months from now, when you're able to open the doors of your church facility again, what impression are you making on people that are going to be trying your church? Something I found very cool in our church in this season is we've worked really hard to pivot to being an online church, just like everybody else. But it's been cool in the comments as people have said, I'm loving what I'm seeing. I can't wait to come check out your church in person. Well, they have a picture of our church, but it's not the normal picture of our church from what they've experienced online. I want to make sure that all these guests that are going to come try our church in person have an amazing first impression, an amazing experience. So this is all of your signage. This is the way people feel when they pull up onto your campus. These are the things that they're handed. These are the signs that they see. So it's an opportunity to put fresh eyes on that. Then the third area is really the area of marketing. And again, in my opinion, there's going to be a lot of shift in the church in this next season. There's going to be people in your community that have checked out your church from a distance. There's going to be people that have heard of your church for the first time because so many people are sharing the online church experiences. And so you need to think through your marketing strategy, and we would love to be a part of helping you really clarify what all of those look like.
Awesome. Yeah, you guys, so if we start with just number one, just looking at digital footprint, online presence, as you know, when I came in and did a secret shopper for you guys a couple years ago there in Lakeland, Florida, the first part of my report was online presence evaluation. And so we went through your social media and your website, and you guys made some adjustments, and now you've just taken off and doing some incredible stuff. And what are things that you think people need to be focused on in this season when you look at their digital footprint? What is something that could be working on right now?
Yeah, well, I'd start at the basics. Honestly, I think you need to think through your church's branding. Branding, so many people think of as just the logo.
Right.
Logo is a part of your branding, but really branding means what people think about when they think about your church. And so I think we should all start there. And so there's a lot of things that go into your branding. I do think your logo is a part of it. I would say if you've ever considered redesigning your logo, right now is the best time. Like, you have this opportunity in this season to work on it, and then to do some big unveiling in the fall or whenever life gets back to whatever the new normal is. So I definitely think that's a place. The second thing that I think all of us need to really pay attention to in the season is our websites. So often what happens is the church puts a lot of energy and focus to get a website going, then they kind of take their hands off of the wheel, and over time it gets dated, there's outdated links, or it just isn't accomplishing the mission of the church. So one of the things that, Greg, I know that you offer that is so helpful is just a fresh set of eyes. Tell us about the website audit thing you do, then I'll come back and talk about what we do.
Yeah, so if somebody hires me to do a secret shopper, included in it is an online presence evaluation where I evaluate their social media, their website, how they appear on things like Google, Yelp, YouTube, things like that. But there are a lot of churches that can't afford to bring me in and fly me in and put me in a hotel and bring me in for a weekend. And so they will say, can you just do the online presence evaluation? And then they can always read my book, Secrets of a Secret Shopper, and do their own secret shopper. They don't have to bring me in to do it, even though I love doing that. But I'm taking a break from it right now as well. I talked with the church last week in Minneapolis, and I said, let's set a tentative date of the first Sunday of October. And we both agreed that it would be tentative because they don't know if they will be meeting, and I don't know if I will want to get on an airplane and travel at that point. We'll have to see what the virus is doing there in the fall and winter. And so so I'm at home right now, which is a good time to do these kind of things, and I know you guys do it. But basically looking at that first impression, we all know people check you out online before they come in person, and that's what's so cool about this season right now of online church and the great pause and the coronavirus is people are checking you out online without the intimidating factor of having to walk through the doors of the church, worried about what they look like, how they dress, how they appear, what people may think of them, whether they're socially awkward or any of that. They don't have to worry about that. They can just come and sit in their pajamas in their living room and watch. And so I watched a couple services of you guys, including your Good Friday service, which was very powerful. And so you guys are just killing it with what you have created with these online church experiences. But tell us about what you're working on. And I know you also tell people about you're doing something called Couch.Church, I believe.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what you've been up to in the digital realm.
Well, I just think creativity is key here. And so the online church experience, one of the things we decided is we've got to create content specifically for an online audience in this season. It's not enough to go to our church building and put up a phone or a camera and stream what we would normally do on a Sunday. We thought we need to make content specifically to an audience, knowing that they're going to be sitting at home on their couch, eating breakfast, sipping coffee, petting their dog, most of which they shouldn't do at church on a regular Sunday morning. And so we've just done that. We've created all kinds of digital content specifically for our church. As a church, we've tried to pivot and honestly create too much content for people. There's more than what people would need. I would argue that most Americans are suffering from digital fatigue right now. We're tired of online. We're tired of being stuck in our houses. But we just wanted our church to have a lot of opportunities to connect. And then we've used this line that we're socially distancing, not spiritually distancing. We believe that people can grow in this awkward season. So that's what we've done as a church. The Couch.Church idea actually came from one of the guys on our staff. And his whole idea was everyone in America is going to be going to church on Easter Sunday from their couch. So we built a whole marketing campaign around the website, www.couch.church. And we got it ready, got it set up, and we slowly leaked it online. We had our people do it, but Friday and Saturday going into Easter, we spent a ton of money and got a ton of engagement out of it by just pushing that out. And it was a really interesting marketing campaign. I think some of our lines were things like, church just got a whole lot more comfy, or your pew just got an upgrade. It was just fun. It was lighthearted and fun, but we got a great response from people all over our city from it.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, second, you talked about first impressions, when you actually come back, and as you know, that's my heart and my passion, and what we talk about the most here in this Facebook group, Weekend Worship and Guest Services. But I just recorded a talk for an online conference that's going to air in May, the ChurchCom Summit, and I talked about first impressions when we reemerge, when we reopen, when we gather again. And I talked about a lot of stuff, and that includes things that you and I have talked about before. And I posted some pictures about a year ago in my Facebook group of my home church. I'm a part of a church plant, and when you come driving up to the property, there's a big sign out front that says "Welcome home. Join us Sunday at 10:30 a.m." And we got that from you guys at Radiant Printing. And then there's these giant flags that say "Welcome" and "Enter" to enter into the right side of the driveway. And we got those from Radiant Printing. And then we come driving down this long driveway, and there's all these yard signs that say "Great to see you," "Welcome," "You're looking good today," "You look amazing," all these signs that we got. And so this is a time to be ordering those, to be finding those, to be designing those, to get ready for this big celebration, because people can't wait to get back together. We need to do it in a healthy way, in a wise way, in a safe way. But when we do it, it's going to be a party. It's going to be a celebration. So what are your thoughts on first impressions and what people can be working on right now to prepare for in-person gatherings?
That's a great question. I talked to a pastor friend in town a couple of days ago who told me that he hadn't been physically in his building in 4 or 5 weeks now. And the thought that hit me was, wow, what an opportunity to go back and look at your church building through fresh eyes. I read somewhere recently that sociologists say that when we see something that is wrong 8 times, our brain starts to think of it as actually being correct. That's the reason why you have stuff in your house and I have things in my house where the paint is chipped or where there's a scuff on the floor, and we think, I'll get it someday. And then we see it again and we think, I'll get it someday. And then we see it 8, 9, 10 times and we forget about it. But a guest comes to our house and they notice it right away. It's like if I were to go to your house, Greg, I would see several things that are wrong that you don't see anymore, and vice versa is true. The same thing's true in our churches. And I think that we have an opportunity in this season to reevaluate and put fresh eyes on everything we do as a church. I think that we need to start thinking through the eyes of a guest. I cannot overemphasize how helpful the secret shopper was to us. And I would say, if you can get Greg out, it's worth every single penny of it. If you can't get him, come up with a way to get fresh eyes on what you do, because I think everything you do communicates some sort of a message, and it communicates a level of excellence. So for the longest, our church has been portable. In fact, we are still portable, and we're in the process of building out a building right now. I don't know if we'll ever meet as a portable church again. I don't know how the timing with this virus will work out for us, but for years we've been set up and tear down. So we get it. All of us at Radiant Printing understand what it's like to be a portable church. And whether you're portable or permanent, you're making guests feel a certain way, and people will always remember how they feel far longer than what they learned. And so I think that we've got to help people feel good. I read a report recently that said the human mind is trained in something like 4 or 5 1/100ths of a second to determine whether or not another person is friendly. Now, this is anecdotal. I don't know that this is true, but I think people can tell at a very quick glance at your church website, as they drive onto your campus, as they see your signs, what kind of church you are and whether or not you are friendly, welcoming, engaging, loving, modern, traditional, that they can tell a lot just from a quick glance. So the question you have to ask is, what message are we sending? And is it the message we are hoping to send in the season? One of the things that's been fun is at Radiant Printing, we've heard from a lot of churches that have sent us pictures. They've taken us on video tours of their church. And what they've said is, this is the season where lots and lots of people after this are going to come to our church for a first time. There's been a lot of churches that even heading into the COVID season were thinking, we're going to have to relaunch. I think every church in America right now is thinking at some point we have to relaunch. And there's no better time to put a fresh coat of paint. There's no better time to hang a sign, put nice outdoor flags, or just to create signage, because again, excellence creates comfort for people. And if we want to have people feeling comfortable in our churches, and when is it ever more important than it's going to be when people are anxious and nervous as they start getting back into larger gatherings? We have to have excellent signage that communicates our heart, vision, and values.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, then you have a third area, and that is we need to let people know that we're going to meet again, and the best way to do that is through marketing. So you're great at marketing, and do that not only as a pastor but as a business owner with Radiant Printing. Tell us about ways that churches can get the word out that they're going to meet again, and just any ideas you have.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll go out on a limb and I'll share a theory that I have with you, and time will tell if this is true. But I have this theory that we're going to get back to some semblance of normal faster than a lot of us think that we are. And whether it's good, bad, right, or wrong is irrelevant. I just think that most people have their whole lifetime of what we'd call normal in like 4 to 8 weeks of a weird season. Now, I'm not here to make a political statement or to argue whether or not it's the right move or the wrong move economically. None of that stuff matters. I just think that there is this craving in our soul to get back to some semblance of normal. And the number one thing that I think our souls long for right now is that relational piece. Like, we miss each other. I love talking to you, Greg. I wish I was sitting in the same room as you. Like, we miss people right now. And so I think marketing is the opportunity to help your community know, first of all, that you're there. And secondly, to communicate what people will experience when they get to you. And so I have 1,000 stories of all of my years of working with the thousands of churches that we've worked at. But I think it's the right time right now to start crafting your message. If you were to go onto most Facebook groups and say, pastors, does direct mail work? You're going to get a lot of people that say, no, it doesn't. I've always disagreed with that philosophy for a lot of reasons. Number one is the people who are saying no, you have no idea what they did. You have no idea what they sent. You have no idea if it was the right message to the right audience at the right time. You have no idea. I think in this season, it's actually the best time ever for the traditional ways of marketing, because we are so inundated and so over digital marketing. We all struggle with digital fatigue. For a few days last week, my wife and I joked that it was our date time to hold hands and walk across the street to our mailbox to get the mail together. And we sit there and we look at it together because it's something different. I think direct mail paired with an excellent Facebook or social media marketing campaign, paired with some other things that you can do that are low touch and high impact, give you an opportunity to really kind of reintroduce yourself to the city this year. I talked to a pastor last week of an awesome church in Texas who said that they're going to send out their largest mailer ever. The moment that he's in Texas, he said, the moment their state announces that they're getting to this level 2, they're going to send out their largest mailer ever. And it's not necessarily to try to draw the largest crowd. It's so that when people start to feel comfortable, they know that there's a place that's there for them.
Yeah, that's good. I was a campus pastor 6 years ago in a small town in Missouri. It was a suburb of Joplin, Missouri, and we were a city of about 13,000 people. And I used direct mail very effectively. And I'm not bragging on me. I'm just saying direct mail worked. We saw our campus triple in size. When I took over the campus, we were about 125 people. When I left, we were about 550. And this was in just a few short years of us, a city of 13,000 people. But direct mail was a big part of that. And of course, I did social media marketing and Facebook ads and things like that. But when you're in a city and you get a nice look, and like you said, what does it look like? How is it branded? How does it come across? How's it designed? But when you get professional mailers in the mail, people take note. And then there's always the percentages of, they say, well, only 2% of people will respond. Well, if you send out 50,000 and you get 2%, you're going to have a crowd that Sunday. The numbers add up. And so yeah, I was always a big fan of direct mail, and I know you guys rock that at Radiant Printing.
I think a lot of people turn this into an either or campaign, and it's never been that. It's many streams that lead into the same river. The other thing that I think people struggle with is the price tag on literally all the stuff that we've talked about. So like a website audit, if they hire you or have us do a website audit for them, well, I don't know how much you charge, but say you charged a few $100s. That feels like a lot of money for something. But what if one family wasn't distracted? What if one family came to your website and understood that there can't be so many buttons on the homepage because they get distracted and end up clicking nothing? Like, are you sending the right message to the right audience at the right time? If one family stays in your church and just nominally gives, forget tithing, they just give a little bit here and there, they will pay for it in a matter of a couple of months, and everything else after that is a bonus. Your website is an investment, but it should yield a return. I believe that marketing should always yield a return. And here's what I can say. When it comes to direct mail marketing, we've had ones at our church that were way more successful than others. We've learned from all of them. We've had some that we felt like we didn't see a lot of return. We've had some that we've had lots and lots and lots of people come, but every single mailer, we can point back to some families who came to our church as a result of it, that over time they're getting paid for it many, many times over. I know money's not the end all be all, but so many people write off marketing because of the cost of it. And I think that you're leaving a lot on the table by not actually reaching out and doing it.
Yeah. And then lastly, this wasn't in your list, but just kind of put you on a spot as a lead pastor. Last thing, as we work on the church, work on our ministry, and this pause, as we are 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, 4 months back from meeting together, however that goes across the country, going from state to state and governor to governor. But right now, when we can meet like this, like you and I are meeting via Zoom, and you can do this with your staff, and you have a great team there at Access Church, what are you doing as a lead pastor to work on leadership development and staff and pouring into your team that is probably just raring and waiting to get back into the new normal and meeting together? But how are you working on them as a lead pastor?
Yeah, so we do everything we can to leverage the season to just engage however we can. And so we've set some criteria on our staff just as a church, just asking them, like, this is an opportunity to connect with people who are going to feel disconnected. So every single day we're asking for people on our staff to connect with 5 to 10 people in our church to let them know they're seen and known and loved, and just to say, what can we be praying with you about? And are there practical needs that we can meet? We're asking our church staff to do that for people. And so I think my responsibility as the lead pastor is to do that with my staff. And it's just to make sure that they are loved and they are cared for. So we've done a lot of the Zoom meetings where it's like you got a million little squares on it. And I start every single Zoom meeting that's a large staff meeting the same way is, let's do this. Let's go around the room, the Zoom room, so to speak. And let's one at a time. I want you to take 30 seconds to a minute and tell us how you're doing, what's going on in your life, what's something fun, what's something we can pray about. Just tell us. And I'm telling you, like, people need to feel heard. People need to feel loved. People need to be noticed. And so doing that, sometimes it takes 20 to 30 minutes of the meeting. And I'll I'll admit to you and the hundreds of people who are going to watch this, sometimes I get bored with that. I'm just going to be real with you. But you know what? It is the most important time in the whole meeting. It's more important than strategy. It's more important than figuring out what the next season looks like. Because if people know that they're loved, people feel valued, that their opinion matters and that their voice matters, they'll literally do everything to help you accomplish the dreams and vision in your heart. So in this season, for me, it's all about just loving and connecting with people. Yeah, we talk strategy and yeah, we work on stuff, but we start by caring for the people.
Cool. Well, Jason, if people don't know you, they can find you online on social media. Access Church is just doing amazing stuff. You know, you guys are well over 1,000 people meeting in a school. And I told you, when you get a building, which you now have a building, I said, when you get into a building, you are going to explode. And so I just cannot wait to see what God does there. But you also have this great resource of tons of resources, which I have used, and I have stuff here in my office that we got when we did the First Impressions Conference in Atlanta. All of our signage and mugs and notebooks and coffee tumblers that we gave out to people came from Radiant Printing, and it's just radiantprinting.com, right?
It is. Yeah. And I would say this as my own little personal commercial. Every single person on our staff that works with us is in church. They're an active part of church and they get church. And so often in these conversations, people come thirsty, like, help me, because they don't know what to do next. Our whole staff believes in and would die for the local church. And so for us, it's a business, but it's a ministry. Like, we want to partner with you to help you reach your city and to pastor people really well.
Awesome. Well, thank you, man. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for the idea. And I'm glad we got to do it. God bless you, man. Take care in Florida.
Love you, man. Good talking to you.
Bye-bye.